knowing that I have the people, trusting the people, training the people, and trusting the people to do it a lot of times better than I do at this point,
Mm.
right? They're great. And I had to be able to step back and let them fail too. That's part of it, right? Being okay that we might lose some business in the short term, but in the long run, it really is what's best for everyone.
Mm.
And if you don't believe that, then you're not going to be able to make that transition. If you don't have the people and you don't have the trust in the people, you're not going to be able to do it.
Welcome to the Mega Team Mastermind Podcast. I'm your host, John Tiller. In each episode, we have dynamic conversations with industry powerhouses, mega team leaders, coaches, and other thought leaders who are shaping the future of real estate teams. This podcast is brought to you by megateammentor.com, where you can get a free, detailed assessment of your real estate team's health, including a free customized scorecard that will quickly and objectively diagnose the strengths and weaknesses of your real estate team business. Now, let's get started on the journey of growth, impact, and legacy building with today's episode. Welcome back to the Mega Team Mastermind Podcast, where we interview successful real estate mega team leaders who will inspire you by sharing real-world stories of success and failure as they've built profitable real estate teams that make an impact and leave a legacy. I'm your host, John Tiller, and today we've got Colleen Bechtel from Casa Grande, Arizona. Casa Grande, Colleen, did I get that right?
Yes, you got it.
That's
right.
awesome. That's great. So Colleen has got several hats that she wears in the real estate industry, a ton of experience, 30 years of experience in the industry. And she's got a great fact about Arizona where they used to issue licenses when you were 12 years old, you could get a license, right?
I was the last one they gave it to.
Oh, that's so
Then they
good.
raised the age limit to 18.
Okay, I got it. Well, that's amazing. Colleen is managing broker of KW Legacy One Realty. She's the designated broker there and owner. She is also the team leader and rainmaker for Advantage Home Team at that KW office.
Yeah.
Colleen's team serves 350 families a year with 10 agents, really high productivity per agent. Her office has 42 licensed agents, and Casa Grande is a relatively small town in Arizona. Is that right, Colleen?
That's right. We're located between Phoenix and Tucson.
Gotcha. So tell us a little bit about that backstory from being the last agent to be issued a license at 12 years old. Tell us about like the 30 years. Where have you been and how you've gotten to today and what the future looks like for you and what you're trying to accomplish.
All right. Well, I was actually not interested in real estate. And my mother-in-law, my then mother-in-law, said to me when I graduated from college, said, have you ever thought about real estate? And I'm like, well, not really. She goes, well, what if I pay for you to go to real estate school?
Wow.
Right. And I'm like, well, education's always good. So why not? And I had this amazing, incredible mentor, Linda Bechtel, for my real estate career. And she is the reason I got my real estate license because of her. And I mentored under her for many years. Beautiful, smart lady. So that's why I got into real estate. I didn't have any interest at all. And then I fell into it and love it. So
Wow.
it worked out.
Tell us about your journey to becoming a team leader, a partner, and an owner in your KW franchise.
Yeah. Well, once my boys, I was a solo agent. And then once my boys went back, were all getting on their way towards school in preschool, I decided, hey, I think I can really do this. And I really got intentional and started doing some advertising. And real estate, phone rings, you're always answering the phone wherever you are, on the soccer fields, wherever you are. And it happened, growing a team kind of happened organically. I wasn't super intentional about how I built a team. I just knew I wanted to be more successful. And that's when I started the advertising and asking a lot of questions. If I lost a listing, I wasn't afraid to say, why did you choose the other agent? I'm okay, right? Happy for you. I know they're going to do a great job for you. What can I do better? So that is how I learned how to really be and focus on listings. I love selling, worked with sellers for many years. Then one of my kids on the soccer field, just on the sidelines talking to moms, I had an agent and she's just got her license and she said, "Can I come work with you?" Okay. And then my first assistant, I went to church and we got to talking and she had her license and she was looking for a part-time job. And I'm like, okay, that was no interview process, did it all wrong. And yet it worked at the time. Great ladies, love them. And they helped. The start of the team was really just very organic, just meeting people and say, hey, okay, let's form a team. Not, anyway.
Got it. Got it. You know what I love? You talking about going to a lost listing appointment, lost to competition, right? And saying, hey, listen, tell me what I can do better. Tell me, I want to be better. Tell me what I can do better. Why did this not work? And being humble enough to do that. We in the teams we've run in the past, we have always kind of put that in as of coaching agents to do that and have the guts to go back, because failure's an event, not a person, right? And so we just want to know, like, I have a friend that says, I want to fail with velocity, because you either win or you learn, right? And so if I can learn with velocity, then I'm going to be a lot better. So I love that that's part of your story.
It's all feedback.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me about, your current roles now. What would you say your percentage of time is with your designated broker hat on versus your Rainmaker team leader hat that you wear in your roles at the company?
Still very entrenched in team right now, especially now. I think leadership is very important right now. So really probably 70-30 at this time.
Gotcha.
And really that leadership on the team is also for the office. It's mirrored heavily. It all starts with team and then out to office, right?
Sounds like you're setting an example with the team on how to be productive, and then that's going to help the office, right? When you my guess is that you open your playbook a little bit on your team to anybody in the office who needs help building their business.
You bet.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I can tell you're a super humble person. And so this may be a bit of an uncomfortable question, but what's your superpower in business? What's the thing that Colleen does really well?
Well, on the team, my superpower is making it fun and contests. So we do a lot of production contests on the team and we make them fun. And I learned a lot of how to do it right and how to do it wrong along the way. I was very resistant to a competition, a production competition for the team in the early days, because I didn't want agents, what felt like could be competition in a negative way.
That's right. That's right.
And I resisted that. And then we experimented with it a little bit and figured out how we can make it work and have a lot of fun and boost productivity. So that's probably my biggest superpower.
I love that. So tell me about like the best competition that you feel like you've put together and what that looks like. Best sales competition.
My favorite is the one that we do every year. And I'm super nerdy. I like reality TV. And I used to watch, I don't watch as much as I used to. I was a big Survivor fan and a big, huge, Amazing Race fan. I was trying to talk my oldest son to going on the Amazing Race with me, but he wouldn't do it. So anyway,
wow.
Not a reality TV star. However, we do our own Amazing Race here and we do the productivity contest for 2 months. Typically it's February and March. Then it culminates with our own Amazing Race where we do a huge scavenger hunt with the team. And then at the end, we give away prizes at a dinner somewhere. So what that looks like is agents we give them a scorecard every week and we track all the things, right? The contacts, how many people are they contacting? How many appointments are they going on? How many listing agreements do they get signed? How many contracts do they get? and all the things, right? Because if they don't do the things, they don't get the end result of a paycheck. So they don't get credit for closings because that's the reward is the paycheck. What they get credit for points wise is the activity.
I
And
love it.
yeah, and it's not for everyone. And it's interesting because I had an agent once who hated the games at first, hated them, really not her personality. And then after about 2 years with the team, she said, "When's our next contest?" I'm like, "Why? Why do you ask?" And she said, "Well," she goes, "I hate to admit it, but I like having that scorecard. I like having that accountability that I need to make the contacts every week." So
We say often around here that success is boring. And as leaders, we're always looking for what's a way to make it fresh and exciting. What I love about your contest is that you have a long-term result, but you also have short-term scorecards, which is such a critical piece. And you're primarily measuring lead indicators, not lag indicators, right? You said the check is for the closing. That's what you get for a closing. And everybody knows that's the great thing. But tying what you're doing in that contest is tying today's contacts and appointments and successful appointments and the things that you're giving points for. You're tying that to success and making it fun all at the same time and rolling it up. I don't know if this has been your experience, but in mine, we've gotten it wrong on both ways. Like sometimes it's too much front end and not enough back end reward, and it's not a long enough term. That sounds like an amazing contest. And what you said about your team member who wants the accountability, maybe doesn't even love it, but just
right,
knows that she needs it. We all know that. We all know that we
right.
need the accountability. And we may have a season where we do well without somebody holding us accountable, but it's at the end of the day, success is boring and accountability is necessary. And what a great superpower to be able to make that fun. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So going into leadership, we talk a lot about impact and legacy here, and we talk a lot on this podcast about leadership itself and the good things and the bad things about leadership, because leadership's hard, right? So in your mind, why do you keep going back? Why do you keep running the team? Why do you keep leading the brokerage? Why be a team leader and a designated broker?
That's a great question. I have found through the Rainmaker leading the team so much gratification watching agents grow and hit goals. And I have an agent, she was just stepped off the team. She came to us as a brand new agent, and she became our top producer for the last at least 4 years. She's been our top producer on the team. Amazing. And watching her hit her goals, getting the car, the dream car, right? Now the dream house, right? And being able to say, you know what? I helped. She did the work. I helped steer her in the right direction. And now she's now stepping off the team and doing her own here at Keller Williams, right?
Excellent.
Amazing person, great friend. And she felt like she hit a lid on her production.
Sure.
And she's ready for her next step.
Sure.
And being okay to watch people grow and move on here or not.
Yeah.
It's a gift. I mean, all the people that I can say I helped them get started. I helped them. I taught them this or I taught them that. It's super gratifying to help people hit their goals.
Around here, when somebody graduates off of a team of mine, or we talk about that being a trophy on the mantle, right? That's a person that I can see my fruit growing on their tree and has more long-term impact and legacy than any one sale will ever have, right? We certainly have some of those experiences with clients too, but man, there's just nothing better. And I don't know if you've had this experience, but there is a season where people work on a team. You definitely want to build the team with a career path and where it's a long-term option for people who want that. But sometimes it's a season and there's some natural progression off of the team. So I imagine that having ownership in the brokerage allows you to still be able to feel like you can invest and still be rewarded from a business standpoint, at least to some degree, by kind of allowing people to do that and cheering for them as they do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now she'll step into a coaching. It's a different kind of coaching I'll still coach her, but in a different way, obviously. So she,
Yeah.
she's excited about now all the things that she gets to learn on this side of it, right? Running a business very differently.
So I'm not sure if in Casa Grande, Arizona, that this is the case or not, but in the rest of the team leaders that I talk to in the rest of North America, the last 3 years has been a little bit of up and down. So tell me about tell me about your best and worst of the last 3 years. And maybe a better way to ask that is tell me about any leadership lessons that you feel like the last 3 years has taught you.
Well, I think COVID really told what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in terms of transparency and leadership. And we learned a lot. Obviously, I think everybody learned a lot. Being okay to share the hard things, I
Yeah.
guess. Being real, right?
Mhm.
Taking the veil off and saying, this is life. This is what we're going through, right? And sometimes it's good. Like the scary monster is who, that's the bad guy that we're blaming, and we can all rally around now. One bad thing is happening. It can bring you together and it can separate you. And we had both happen through COVID, to be honest. So yeah, it was.
So, how do you lead well through the big scary monster and promote a culture of authenticity? I hear you saying being real. How do you promote that as a leader?
I think that's really important right now, right? The big scary monster, right? The lawsuit, the NAL, the settlement, the NAR settlement.
Yeah.
And do any of us really have an answer yet? What is it going to look like now after August of 2024? Right now, that's the timeline.
Yeah.
Could change again. What does the real estate world look like post settlement? We're all a little bit guessing. And that's the leadership of, hey guys, this is where it's headed. Here's what we're going to do right now. Here's how we're going to talk to our clients. Here's where we're going to answer the question and just let people know the facts, the real, not the, don't buy into the clickbait. Don't make the clickbait videos, first of all. That's not okay, right? Sensationalizing it isn't worth getting the business that way. It's
Right.
not. We just don't do that.
Right.
We give the real information. What I say is one kitchen table at a time.
Awesome. Awesome. That's so good. So good. Now, are you in production yourself, Colleen?
No, not
So tell me about, do you still cherry pick any clients at all, or is it pretty much just, no, I'm full-time leadership?
I have some REO accounts from the Great Recession days. And so I still do a little bit of that work. Those come in my name. And those are team listings in my name. But that typically, unless it's a family member or a really, really close friend, I'm I
Gotcha.
don't cherry pick
Now,
up.
most of us who have gotten out of production, I know personally there were 3 rounds of it for me, and we call it the face slap when you realize you did it wrong and you got to go back and then
Yeah.
do it right. So tell me about your experience and your journey coming out of production. And of course, that's not the goal for everyone, but if you want to be a full-time leader of people who produce, then it is a goal for many of us. So tell me about your journey there and what your biggest lesson learned was.
It's taken me a lot longer, right? So over 30 years in this business, and it's really been the last couple of years that I've come out of production. And part of that is I really love real estate and I love working with people. And so that part of it, it was me holding me back for sure. And being okay, knowing that I have the people, trusting the people, training the people, and trusting the people to do it a lot of times better than I do at this point,
Mm.
right? They're great. And I had to be able to step back and let them fail too. That's part of it, right? Being okay that we might lose some business in the short term, but in the long run, it really is what's best for everyone.
Mm.
And if you don't believe that, then you're not going to be able to make that transition. If you don't have the people and you don't have the trust in the people, you're not going to be able to do it.
So tell me about when somebody fails. And if you can think of a specific example, that would be great. If somebody fails, how do you address it? Do you just pull them off completely? And what are the feelings and what are the actions that are going on for you when a team member messes up? I mean, there's not really a better way to say that. When they mess up the relationship and or the transaction.
Yeah, typically I am, and I had it happen actually a couple of weeks ago where a client called and they're not happy. And it wasn't necessarily the agent, although the agent compounded things. It was actually my listing coordinator kind of dropped the ball on something. And I didn't know until I got the call from the client, which number one, right? You need to let me know so I don't get the call from the client.
Right.
Don't cover it up, guys. And not that they intentionally did, but
of course.
I'm going to work with a client and ask a lot of questions about what happened. And then I went to the agent and the listing manager, asked a lot of questions. And I went back to the client and I said, I'm very sorry. What you're telling me actually is what happened. And thank you for letting me know so that I can fix it. And now I need to ask you, how can I fix it with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they really didn't want to work with the listing agent anymore. And it wasn't entirely her fault. And I said, can you do me the favor? Now that we know the problem, I want a second chance. Can we have a second chance to meet or exceed your expectations? And that's typically when you're humble and you go and you apologize and you're not trying to cover something up or make excuses. Like, you're right. We did that. I'm embarrassed. And can I have a second chance? People are pretty forgiving.
They really are. They really are. In fact, there's a stat, I'm sure you've seen this in your career, where people are much more likely to become your advocate if something went wrong and got fixed than if nothing went wrong to start with, which is kind of counterintuitive. But handling it, what a beautiful way to handle it with the client. Tell me about how you handle it with your staff and your agents when something like that goes wrong, because, it was a big deal. And not only did they miss the thing, whatever the thing was, but they also didn't let you know about it ahead of time. So how do you handle that with them?
Yeah. And that can't happen again. Right. So it's a very clear, hard and clear. I don't want to be blindsided, guys. That was a blindside and that's not okay. And if you're going to be here, we have to be able to communicate. And I'm not that scary. I mean, I'm really not. So I'm a pretty forgiving person also. And so that's where we have the conversation, right? What happened? Why did it happen? How do we keep it from happening again? Where's the hole in the system that we need to fill in and keep it from happening again? And that was the conversation. And she was everybody's credit. They were very apologetic. They admitted it, and we're fixing it. And then we're moving on, right? We're working together, but we don't have time to dwell on it. We're going to fix it. We're going to move on. Let's go. We've got things to do.
Now, what do you do? I'm going to push a little harder if it's okay.
Sure.
So what do you do if somebody doesn't own it? They just kind of make excuses. A lot of us have found especially with our staff, right? Their job is to please. And so they do not want to disappoint you. So it doesn't come out of a place usually of integrity that they're either kind of pointing fingers in another direction or just not telling you about it. But at the end of the day, there are times when your staff, maybe they don't own it. Maybe they try to place the blame instead. How do you address that? How do you keep it from happening?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm okay with hard conversation.
Good.
So it sounds to me and I'll have that conversation, it sounds to me like you just got busy and missed it. And really that is what happened in that. And I can see that you missed it because the email didn't go out.
Right.
All right. If somebody's really trying to work around it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, wait a minute. we have a checks and balances. Did you just get busy?
Yeah.
Because guess what? We all get busy, and that's not okay.
Yeah. And so let's say that happens, right? And then they say, yep, Colleen, yep, I get it. Thank you. I won't do it again. And then it happens again. Do you just keep having the same conversation, or is there a limit on what do you do then?
Yeah. Usually what tends to happen is people will self-select out. And if they don't, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're having a hard conversation too often. It's just, we're clearly not a good fit. This is not a good match for you. Luckily, we've gotten better at the hiring process.
Sure,
and,
sure.
and we're finding the better fits for the job. And sometimes we miss it. Sometimes this isn't working out. And we're going to have to go a different direction.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so clear to me that you've got this maturity in leadership because so many leaders struggle with this. There's a great book called Difficult Conversations for anybody who's listening. That's a great resource if you're having this kind of trouble. You talked about self-selecting, and one of the things that one of my mentors a long time ago really taught me, and I feel like we got it right eventually. You make a lot of mistakes to get to where it should be, but you create an environment that they're not comfortable with that behavior, when they're not comfortable acting like that. And so when making excuses, you make it uncomfortable for them, and they just realize it's not the place to be. And many of them, the goal is for them to self-select if they can't live in our culture of no excuses, in our culture of positive attitude, of owning it, moving on. Teams run at such a fast pace, right? And that's one of the things that can be a struggle for our staff. Like, it's really hard to really help them understand how fast the pace is and what they're going to have to do when it comes to real estate. So that's great, Colleen.
Yeah, agents will do the same. Like, they'll self-select out pretty quick also. They'll realize, oh, I didn't, and especially when we have the contest and they're turning in their pages every week and they're reading off. Okay, I did this and I did this and I did this and I did this, and everybody's going around the room. That's what's great about the contest also, because nobody wants to hand in the blank sheet, right?
Right.
In a row of blank sheets, and everybody's looking at them going, are you even trying?
Right. That's right.
And they're going to self-select out.
Well, and high producers don't like to be around mediocre agents, right? And mediocre agents don't like to be around high producers. So as leaders, we put the data in front of them through a fun contest. Then that self-selection tends to happen. Well, that's good. We could talk a lot about, we could actually have a whole episode on performance management, and it sounds like you're doing an amazing job with that. Let me move on, though, because we got to wrap up here soon. Let me move on to impact and legacy. You're doing some pretty cool things in those realms. Tell me about what you're most proud of that your team is doing to make an impact in your community and that you're working on.
Well, things. Well, we have our Keller Williams Red Day, so we give back annually, that are close the doors and do a community project. So tomorrow we'll be doing Humane Society, and we're volunteering out at the Valley Humane Society. Then at our company retreat. So I haven't quite figured it out yet how to be most impactful. However, we help people with homes, buy and sell homes, and even rent homes, and yet we're seeing our homeless population increase. And so I have my very first domain that I ever bought was called Heart and Homes. And I parked it for many years, heartandhomes.com, because I had Advantage Home Team, right? And yet, I don't know, you don't see them in here. Well, I have hearts on the walls. I have hearts everywhere. I don't know. Anyway, so Heart and Homes was my first domain name when I first got into real estate. And because I feel like that's where family, and that's where people, your home means everything to you, and where your memories are created. And now we have people that are homeless. And so that's where I want our giving end to be, is Heart and Homes, and to help the homeless. And so that's, as a team, we all decided, people and pets, we help find homes. And so that's where we're creating that partnership with the city for helping homeless.
Wow. And so is that partnership in place today, or is it something you're creating with the city?
We're creating right now.
I love it. We help people and pets find homes. Oh my gosh, that's so powerful, Colleen. So powerful. Tell me about, you do a little bit of running.
I do.
So
Yeah.
tell us about that.
Okay. I was not consistent. I wanted to be a runner, right? And so I started running again in my 40s and I wasn't consistent with it. So I'd heard about this challenge. It was a 66-day challenge where you run 3 miles a day for 66 days and then you'll be in shape. You'll be a runner, and that's good enough training to run a marathon. Well, I don't know. Anyway, so I did the 66-day challenge and I was 50. I started it when I was 50.
Awesome.
And then I hit 66 days and I went, I think I can keep going. I wonder if I can do 100 days. So then I did 100 days of 3 miles a day. And then
100 days in a row?
In a row.
Wow.
Then I ran into a friend and she said, well, if you run for 350 days in a row, you'll be considered a streak runner. You'll have a run streak.
Got it.
And there is a website, Run Streak Runners International. I'm listed on it.
Wow.
Because I'll see what today is. I don't know what today is, but if you run a mile or more a day for over a year, you can be on the website as a streak runner. And today was day 2,164 days in a row that I've run 3 miles or more.
2,164 days. That's like 6 years.
In June, it'll be 6 years.
That's crazy, Colleen. Wow. We talk around here also about not only impact and legacy, but also we hear about work-life balance, which is, everybody says that's a myth, which I think is true, or integration, I think is a good word I've heard people use. We've started to use the word around here of harmony, work-life harmony. And it sounds like maybe running is a way for you to have some work-life harmony. Is that true?
Yes. Absolutely. It's a great stress reliever. And I listen to a lot of books and podcasts while I'm running. So I'm listening. If you haven't read Master of Change by Brad Stulberg, Master of Change.
Got it.
Great book, particularly for right now as we're facing changes in the industry. So I love running for a lot of different reasons. And it's really helped me stay grounded, I think, and healthy. And I became a runner. I never thought of myself as a runner, but now I'm a runner.
And people talk about, you have these contests, right? And you have a certain number of contacts that people need to make, your agents need to make every day. And have you found at all that it may be a little easier to encourage consistency when they see that you are living out a life of consistency now over 2,000 days in a row of doing something consistently?
Well, one of the lessons, right? If it's important, you'll find time in your calendar.
That's so big.
Such a simple thing. And, it's priorities, right? What are your priorities? And if it's important enough, you'll find room for it in your calendar.
Now, you're also working on a story that really doesn't have its roots in business, but you're working on applying that and transferring the lessons to business. Tell us about that.
I've never enjoyed writing. And so I used the lesson from running because I didn't think of myself as a runner. And now people call me a runner. Yeah. And so I started writing because I don't enjoy the process. And yet I feel like I'm becoming the writer that I always hoped or, dreamed of becoming.
Wow.
And a lot of it is around, and I have permission to share it from the author, a poem called Welcome to Holland. And that was given to me a long time ago. And I don't know how far you want to go into the story. Yeah. That was shared when my son was 11 months old. My youngest son was 11 months old, and he was diagnosed with a seizure disorder. And Welcome to Holland wasn't written for that. Welcome to Holland was written about what it's like to live with a child with a disability. Yeah. And you're familiar with that.
I am familiar with that. I have a son who also has a severe disabilities from an accident that he had when he was 3 years old.
Right. And this was shared by a nurse at our doctor's office at the time. I didn't even know who wrote it. And it's a beautiful, I guess not a metaphor, maybe a metaphor. It's a beautiful story about what happens when life throws something at you that you weren't planning on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And isn't that true right now with business? I mean, something being thrown at us that we didn't plan for and we didn't see coming, and yet we've got to change and get a whole new guidebook. If you're
Wow.
familiar with Welcome to Holland by Emily Pearl Kingsley. Welcome
Love
to
it.
Holland by
Yeah.
Emily Pearl Kingsley. It's a beautiful, beautiful story.
It's an easy to Google for folks listening. Definitely Google Welcome to Holland. So your son was 11 months old when diagnosed. How old is he now?
He's 27 years old.
He's 27 years old. And you made it through Holland,
Yes.
into Holland and through Holland. That's
Yes.
great. How is he doing today?
He is a bit of a miracle. He was told when he was 12 years old. So flash forward 11 years later, his pediatric neurologist told him he was a bit of a miracle. So we're very, very lucky, very, very fortunate. He takes medicine every day. And so his seizures are controlled now. But we made it through the hard stuff.
I often tell folks that after this horrific experience, I hope that nobody ever has to go through having a hurt child or a child that faces death or a child that faces severe illness. But what I realized, we didn't know for about 3 weeks if my son was going to survive at 3 years old. And we just knelt by his bed, and all we could do is watch, wait, and pray. And he did survive. He did survive. And we're so grateful for that. And I tell people ever since then, I come back to I don't have a bad day in real estate because all I got to think about is, hey, I'm going home to my son. Like, my son is alive. So it's just an incredible, and it gives you incredible perspective having gone through something like that.
Absolutely. How old is your son now?
He is 24
Okay.
years old. So yeah, we'll have to tell a little bit more details of those stories sometime in the future. Colleen, I am so grateful. I want to wrap up with just maybe just one quick question. The most important thing that today we've talked about, there's a lot of change in the air with real estate. So what's the most important thing that team leaders need to know in today's market?
We'll find the new normal, and we will weather this, and we'll be better, stronger and better than ever. We don't know where we'll land, and yet we know we will get through it, and we are better together, working together as an industry to solve the problems and give people what they want.
Such good advice. And the books you referenced were, the poem you referenced was Welcome to Holland, and the book was Master of Change. Who's the author on that again?
Brad Stolberg.
Awesome. Brad Stolberg. Excellent. Excellent. Well, again, thank you, Colleen, for joining us on the show. Tell us, where can people find you as follow-up to the podcast if they wanted to get in touch with you?
Yeah, my email is my first name, Colleen, Colleen, at advhometeam.com. So short for Advantage Home Team, advhometeam.com. And my office is 520-836-9301. And my cell phone is 480-452-4067. So looking for
Colleen,
friends in all 50 states.
That is one more indication, just being accessible to people. You are truly a level 5 leader, and really grateful to have some of your time here today. Thanks for taking that, and super excited to see what's ahead for you and your team.
Thank you, John.
And that's a wrap on another episode of the Mega Team Mastermind. I hope you found some nuggets of wisdom that you can use to leverage your real estate team to make an impact and to build a legacy. A huge thank you to our incredible guest, and of course to our sponsor, megateammentor.com, where you can get a free detailed assessment of your real estate team's health, including a free customized scorecard that will quickly and objectively diagnose the strengths and weaknesses of your real estate team business. That's megateammentor.com for your free real estate team health assessment. If you enjoyed the show, I would consider it a personal favor if you would subscribe or leave us a review so that we can get this podcast out to others who want to make an impact and leave a legacy. I hope you'll tune in to our next episode for more leadership insights, strategies, and stories of success and failure. Until then, this is John Tiller, and as always, I'd like to speak an ancient blessing on you as we go. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face toward you and give you